So of course, before I get into the video, I know I'm doing the most annoying thing on the planet, reminding you to hit the like and leave a comment and consider subscribing because of the fact of what I'm covering is the topics that they are. YouTube has a tendency to demote these kinds of videos on the algorithm, so I have to ask this stupid question now, or ask nicely to consider leaving a like and leaving a comment. Leave any comment. Who's your favorite waifu? What's your favorite anime? What's your current anime that you're watching this season? Or if you are watching animes this season, I'm definitely watching a variety of different animes this season. I did just finish catching up on Dan Ladan. I hadn't watched it until now, which was kind of funny, but it's good. I'll be definitely doing a video on the analysis channel. But I wanted to talk about the whole doubling down, the whole situation with YouTube, and then doubling down on the ID verification. And I'm going to kind of point at two perspectives here. And this might upset some people, but understand that you got to look at the bigger picture from a YouTube's perspective. As much as I do not like the ID verification system and the AI system that they're all putting out, YouTube is forced by law to have to play ball. And because I've seen a lot of people say, oh, well, we could go to Rumble, we can go to here, we can go to there. The problem is that does nothing when the governments will just block those websites. Now, if you can use a VPN to bypass it, well, then using YouTube won't be a problem. But now, as I've stated in the last video, there is in the UK, they're trying to clamp down on VPNs. YouTube apparently, in some reports, have apparently blocked VPNs in some degree. There's debates on the legitimacy of it, but the discussion on Reddit has been blocked or deleted by moderators, so clearly they don't want that discussion. But I do think there is some legitimacy in it. I mean, you only need to look at the whole advertisement war that was going on YouTube, where people were using ad blocker and YouTube was cacking the, cadoodles over it. It's like, again, this wouldn't put it out of YouTube. Now, as far as the advertisement drama, that's a whole different kettle of fish to talk about. But as far as this goes, what YouTube is trying to do is they're trying to preemptively get ahead of the issue. They're like, okay, we know this ID verification system's come. We know they're going to do age verifications. And so YouTube, before all of this gets implemented, they're creating the features knowing ahead of what these governments are going to be demanding so that their site doesn't get blocked while the other sites do get blocked. Now, some sites like Rumble will probably look at their audience and go, well, it's mostly Americans, so they probably won't care so much. I don't know. I'm just making a wild guess there. Now, like I said, I'm not happy about this. I'm not defending it in the pure sense, but I'm also pointing out that YouTube is backed into a corner. They have no alternative. It's they play ball or they get banned. That's their options. And so whenever a lot of people say just go to Rumble, go to here, go to there, they'll get banned as well. I mean, this is why I've stated for a while that if you're a content creator and you think you're safe, you're not safe. I can guarantee you one of the first things they will go after, potentially once they start rolling this out further and further, they'll go after Twitch. They will go after Twitch far more heavy than YouTube will, because YouTube is already pretty heavy on fan service type content. As someone that does anime content, I have to be really careful on what kinds of images I show. There's a reason why all my high school DxD images and thumbnails do not show cleavage, because YouTube will demonetize it. So YouTube is already pretty clamped down on that kind of system, which is why YouTube, I think, will get the better end of the stick. But it's also just kind of stupid that YouTube has a kids app, and they also have the copper law as well, and yet they need to put even more safeguards in place because we don't already have so many obstacles we have to jump through. Being a content creator is becoming more of a nightmare than ever before. I mean, my audience is generally older. It's made for older audiences, and yet I feel like I'm having to jump through hoops for kids that will not be watching my content, period. So it's just a nightmare in itself. But the point that I'm getting at is that if people think Twitch is safe, no, they're not. And that's why it's more funny that certain content creators on Twitch are either defending this or ignoring it. And people will know what I'm referring to when I say defending this in some degree. There is some criticism coming from some content creators, but there's also some of that defense of being saying things that kind of contradict the other statement. I know I'm going to ruffle some certain individual fan bases out there that don't like criticizing their Lord and Savior. But when I say Twitch, you think of certain content creators. You're instantly thinking the hot tub streamers, the OnlyFans streamers. They'll be the first to go. And trust me, Twitch is not going to be happy about it, because that's their favorites. That's all their favorite little streamers out there. those will be the first to go, because the governments will be like, yeah, no, this isn't age appropriate. They'll just get rid of them. They'll just ban the site or force them. And even if they try and add the ID verification system, to be honest, some channels, I think, on Twitch, or some content creators on Twitch, will slowly wither away over time. I think some of their audiences will wither away. I mean, you've got the whole bot situation going on over there. That's a big enough issue as it is. And then you're going to have the ID verifications and getting kids off the internet, or limiting accessibility, all these different factors. Because again, one country doesn't have the same laws. Australia and UK are doing very different things. The US is trying to push completely different systems. European Union is trying to push different. There's going to be different laws, and that's the thing. Websites like this are going to have a hard time keeping up with it. So I do think Twitch content creators are going to suffer the most. YouTubers will definitely suffer. Not as much as Twitch. Twitch is absolutely cooked, in my opinion, as far as things go. And I think a lot of people understand why. And it's not even just those fan service type streamers, which I don't think they should be technically. But I think Twitch's biggest issue is they need consistency when it comes to their rules. But I can tell you right now, they'll go after other streamers as well. Ones that are much more controversial, that really provoke certain things and hit on some heavy topics. They're definitely going to go after those. And then, of course, you've got this as well, which is what I've been talking about. The whole ID verification, the whole AI system. It starts on the 13th of August. I mean, this was posted back on the 30th of July. There've been plenty. And it seems very quick that they've just announced it on the 30th, and then it's like within weeks, not even a month, it will be rolled out. So they really want this out quickly. And I think that's why, because they know if they kind of drag this out, it's going to allow for more uproar. They're getting this out as quickly as possible because governments are clearly pushing these new systems. Like I said, I'm not happy about it. I'm not necessarily defending it in the sense of this is a good thing. I'm just saying that YouTube is doing this because they are forced to by these governments, which in some extent is a little bit of understanding of their position as far as a business goes. Because like I said, there's two options. They either resist or get blocked, or they cooperate. We're in a very awkward situation. And I also think that the fact, and I talked about how I was going to talk about this in another video, and I think some people misunderstood what I was saying on the last video, because I said I could see YouTube's viewership dropping by between like 5 to 20, potentially more percentage. And some people said, oh, so YouTube's viewership's dropped. No, I'm not saying it has dropped. I believe that over the coming year or years, YouTube's viewership will decline. And not just because of removing kids off of the internet kind of mindset or limiting their accessibility. I think it's also going to come down to the fact that, one, YouTube's restrictions and systems is going to massively annoy people. Many couples and families are just going to potentially use one person's ID. Because imagine this idea that you have a family, a husband and a wife with a bunch of kids, and you've got to ID verify your YouTube account. What will happen, I think, in many situations is the family, the husband and the wife, or the partners, will only verify one account and they'll share it amongst themselves, and they'll only use one person's ID to reduce the risk of both parties being compromised if something goes wrong, which is a smart idea. That's what I think some parents will do, or individuals will do. They'll try and think ahead. And I could see a lot of parents ID verifying for themselves and their kids so that the kids can also use the internet. So you're going to see a lot of these situations where you're going to see the amount of YouTube accounts dropping. The usership may not necessarily decline on that end, but this is where I'm getting to the bigger picture. There's multiple layers to this. So the amount of accounts will potentially shrink, or active user accounts. Then, with the fact that we've got AI becoming a massive issue, YouTube trying to push certain types of content depending on your region, which is why I think they don't like VPNs right now, and governments trying to push their own media onto us, you're going to see more people just pushing away from YouTube and being like, you know what, not as interested in this, not as interested in the promotion. People might limit their usage of it more and more and more. And with AI slop becoming an even bigger issue that YouTube will not deal with, and the fact that YouTube Shorts is just so terrible, and it's an absolute disaster going on with YouTube. I think more and more and more people are going to lower their usage. They're going to slowly just squeeze it down a little bit. And I could see people maybe using YouTube 5, 10, 15, 20, 30% less. And so that active amount will reduce. Not necessarily everyone will stop using it, but the amount that people will use it. And I think that's in social media in general. I don't think it's just YouTube. I think this will be social media in general. People will be much more selective of where they go. There'll be much more chat groups that are kind of like controlled and hidden away. And I think you'll see the internet not become so open. It won't be a www in the sense of World Wide Web. It will be isolated in echo chambers, and people will kind of like hide. It will almost be like shadows. People just kind of like staying out of the spotlight of the AI watching everything. I think that's definitely an issue. I also mentioned in a comment that I do think Reddit is going to suffer greatly. I do think Reddit needs to be broken up, and I could foresee that there may be more form sites that are separated from Reddit. People are going to start breaking apart, which may be a good thing. I honestly think Reddit is too big. I think it's become too much of a monopoly in the form space. I think it being potentially people pushing away from it would be a good idea. So I think there is a multitude of things that are going to happen. I don't think one thing will be the major thing. I think there's going to be a multitude of cascading effects, like a domino effect. And I also think that a lot of people are going to be more willing to kind of like try and consume things offline. And that's why I've always said forcing things online is the worst idea, because having things offline is great. Being able to watch animes, like having physical copies, having books, DVDs, Blu-rays, games, having them offline is really helpful because of when things like this happen. So I feel like I've been prepared for a long time when it comes to those kinds of things. Just wish I was a little bit more prepared. So I think when you look at that, you look at the bigger picture, you're looking at the fact that YouTube is absolutely doubling down. They're absolutely trying to add these features in because they feel like they've been backed into a corner. They feel like they need to add these features in because of the government systems. I think it will. I think they know it's gonna throw back in their face, and they know there's gonna be fallout. But I think they're trying to minimize the fallout as much as possible, knowing that this is going to be definitely something that will push back. I could definitely see some social media websites absolutely collapsing. Like say for example Threads. Barely really anyone uses Threads, and you really think people are really going to be like going out of their way to use a site and then give their ID? I mean, it's got connected to Facebook, so unless Facebook does a whole one ID and you can use multiple, that might be a smarter way of going about it. But I could definitely see some social media platforms absolutely struggling to survive. And then when there's situations of, say, like, for example, people's data getting leaked and hacked into and compromised, it's going to add even more uproar. It's going to add more concern and more skepticism. I guarantee you within the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to see a rise in scams and fraud going on. And it's going to be a nightmare for individuals, but also authorities, to track down actual legitimate criminals, because they'll be using those stolen verifications and IDs. And I could also see a lot of people using fake IDs and verifications to get on the internet. It's going to be pure chaos. I don't think any government individual really thought this through. I think this is a slapped up thing thrown out there. I think YouTube's going to become a bigger target when it comes to compromising their data and information and trying to siphon information. And I wanted to talk about this and I almost forgot it. The fact that YouTube's ads in itself, you know, they're trying to make this whole kid-friendly website, and their ads are mostly just like crypto scams and pyramid schemes and dodgy games that are just trying to siphon your data. Like, this is the irony in YouTube in itself. They're constantly talking about making the platform friendly for everyone, blah, blah, blah. But their ads in itself are just atrociously bad. YouTube's not the only one, but I'm pointing it out because that's the main focus of the video. It's just pure chaos in itself. So, like I said, this has never been about protecting kids. This is all about the watchful eye, the eye of Sauron, watching over us, vigilantly seeing what we say and do to make sure that we don't ever say anything that would upset the thin-skinned governments that it is and the powers to be. So again, remember, if I go missing, you know why? I am in no way thinking anything negative about myself. I am sound mind. And again, remember to leave a like, comment. Don't want your financial support, just simply want your enthusiasm, I guess is the best way to put it. Again, consider leaving a like, consider leaving a comment, and subscribe if you want more of this kind of content and more to future to come. So again, if you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.